friends, Shayla here. So we are here to talk about my favorite books of 2020. Happy New Year, everybody. It's officially January 1 when I'm filming this. I'm not sure if you'll see it on Saturday or Sunday, but you probably won't see it today. I've got other things going on today. So this is my list of 20 books that I loved in 2020, and all of these are 5 stars. I read a ton this year. A forthcoming stats video will be coming, and yes, so let's go ahead and dive into these because I've got 20 books to talk about and I love them all for different reasons. So this video is going to be long. Grab a drink, grab a snack, let's go. All right, so first up on this list is probably going to surprise some people, and that is Leopards Rage by Christine Feehan. Now, this is a book in which we're following leopard shifters. In this one, we're following Sebastian. Sebastian is a bodyguard to his cousin named Mattia. Mattia is recently married, and he has a property nearby. So what he wants to do is take all the landscape architecture and connect their 2 properties. And in doing this, he hires the best of the best for the leopard people, and that is a woman named Flambe. Yes, her name is Flambe. That's the most unfortunate thing about this book. Anyways, Flambe is a very unique leopard as she is a strawberry leopard. So there are some physical things she has to deal with in regards to being a strawberry leopard. But because of this, they both kind of have a certain style of thing that they enjoy in the bedroom. And it is shibari, which is Japanese bondage. So this isn't going to be a book for everyone, and I'm going to caveat that right here. But I have to say, the way in which bondage was used within the story is a way that opened up the lines of communication for the couple. So not only did they have to communicate just because of the bondage, but it put them both in a safe place where they could be vulnerable with each other. So the use of bondage within this story was so uniquely done. I'm floored by it constantly. And the chemistry that these 2 have is really fantastic. There's some outside sources trying to cause some conflict and stuff, but the main conflict is between the 2 of them trying to figure out if they can be together or not. And it's so well done. I really seriously enjoyed this. And Feehan's steamy scenes are always great, but these were like top tier with the bondage and the way that it was all used, because the bondage wasn't always used, but it was used often. And so they had a relationship outside of that as well physically. But yes, it was so good. And the way in which communication came through in this novel really had me going. And so yes, I really enjoyed this and would highly recommend giving it a try if it sounds interesting to you. Next on this list is a historical romance. I should preface most of this list is going to be romance because 2020 was the year of romance for me. 2020 was rough on all of us, and so I ended up reading a ton of romance. So this is a very romance heavy top 20, so just be prepared for that. If romance isn't your thing, I'm really sorry. You'll probably enjoy next year's list better, but this is just where I'm at this year. We have All Scott and Bothered by Kerrigan Byrne. I dove into Kerrigan Byrne's works this year, and I tried to only pick one from each author on this list. There's only one exception to that. And so yes, anyways, in All Scott and Bothered, we have a plus-size heroine. Her name is Cecilia. Cecilia basically inherits this gambling hell is the kind of the easiest way to describe that. And the Lord Chief Justice, Cassius is bound and determined to take down this gambling hell. And so their first interaction outside of his brother, because his brother married her best friend, so they had met in that instance, and it was really cute and really adorable, and he started to feel things for her. But then he goes into this gambling hell, and she's in this role of the leader of the gambling hell, and there's all this chemistry and tension, and he's so confused by it. He's like, I want to take this woman down. Why am I attracted to her? And their whole story, there's a big like mystery, great subplot in this, but the romance is also equally fantastic. I really enjoyed these 2. This cover doesn't do Cecilia justice. She is plus size, she is curvy, she loves her food, and she is proud of her body, and he adores her body too. So I wish the cover was a better representation of this novel, but alas, it is still fantastic and I recommend it solidly. Next up is actually another historical, surprisingly enough, and that is The Highland Layered by Amy Jarecki. Now, this is one a lot of people haven't read. It came out later in the year, but this one is very unique. Our heroine's name is Emma, and Emma is blind. She's been blind since birth, and she's always just gotten around fine on her own. And her brother's best friend was the Laird of the MacDougall clan, I believe. Yes, the MacDougall clan. And so he's come around and she's always felt very fondly for him and he of her, but they've never let anything happen because of her brother. And so when he is mistakenly thrown in jail, she and her recently acquired seeing eye dog, for lack of a better description, end up breaking into prison and saving him. And so they're on the run and they end up sequestered away from everyone else, being able to explore their relationship together. It is so beautiful. It is so fantastic. I cannot speak personally for the blind representation, but everything felt believable and realistic to me. So I can't speak specifically on that. I hope there's an Own Voices review out there for you guys to look up, but I genuinely enjoyed my time with this. And I felt like, historically speaking, everything felt realistic to me. So I highly recommend checking out the book. I highly recommend all of these. Stop saying that, Shayla. All right, up next on this list is The Bridge Kingdom by Danielle L. Jensen. I always wanted to say Danielle K. I don't know why. But anyways, in The Bridge Kingdom, this is the ultimate enemies to lovers. So we have two people from rivaling kingdoms. Laura has been raised her entire life to hate the Bridge Kingdom. And she and all of her sisters were raised in the desert. One of them was going to have to go to the Bridge Kingdom and murder the king by order of their father, because they've been told all growing up that he's a brute and a tyrant and an awful human being. So when she arrives at her new kingdom and to her new groom, Aaron, she realizes that she was misled her entire life by her father. And so to watch them grow from extreme hatred into like, into love, was beautiful. I did also read The Traitor Queen this year as well, and I enjoyed that, but this book is what sold me on it. If I hadn't grown attached to these characters, I wouldn't have cared so much in The Traitor Queen. So do know that I do recommend reading both, but for the purposes of this list, we are only choosing the one, and I seriously enjoy this. The audiobook is actually really fantastic for this, so definitely look into the audiobook for it, but I highly recommend this. Fantasy romance is something I explored a lot this year as well. Up next is another historical, surprisingly enough. This was also the year of historical romance for me, and that is Beauty Tempts the Beast by Lorraine Heath. This is a Beauty and the Beast inspired story in which I'm double checking my names real quick. We have Althea and Benedict. Benedict runs kind of a brothel in a sense, but he does this so women can get on their feet, and he wants to give them a better life because of the way he was raised. This is part of the Trelows in Lorraine Heath's world, if you're familiar. So Althea, she knows her brothers are up to some nefarious things, trying to protect her and protect secrets from her father, things like that. And so she wants to protect her brothers. So she goes to Benedict and takes a job in educating these brothel ladies in manners and society so that they can either find a better man to take care of them or to get a better job as maybe a lady's maid, something like that. Through the process, she also makes the stipulation of, you have to teach me the ways of love, because she is bound and determined to become like a Rakess, essentially, so basically a mistress. So she wants to learn the art of seduction from him, so he reluctantly agrees. So she moves into the brothel house and they start to form a friendship. The romantic relationships build slowly. This had all the notes of a Beauty and the Beast retelling I wanted. I mean, other than the transformation, but like the physical transformation, I should say. Like personality-wise, they both go through transformations, and it's beautiful. So well done. Highly recommend. Really love this. Definitely going to be exploring more Lorraine Heath in 2021. Up next is a book that I have an entire reaction vlog to, so I probably won't say too much in this video. I'll just refer it to you in the cards, and that is House of Earth and Blood by Sarah J. Maas. This is the first book in the Crescent City series. Yes, I am Sarah J. Maas trash. I am sorry if you don't like that, but it is who I am. Anyways, this is an urban fantasy in which we are following, I believe her name's Bryce. Yes, Bryce. She comes back after kind of a night out on the town to find the people she loved the most murdered. And so we get a time skip from there, and it's about her kind of trying to piece the puzzle together and figure everything out. Along the way, she finds Hunt, who is a fallen angel, and he is there to kind of be her bodyguard in a sense, and to make sure that she's not the one who killed her friends. So it is a slow burn romance between the two of them. It barely gets smutty, let's be real here. And I am really looking forward to the sequel. Again, if you want my full thoughts and a lot more details, check out the cards. Up next is a paranormal romance, and that is The Darkest King by Gina Showalter. This is book, I believe, 15 in the Lords of the Underworld series. This is a series I love and adore. This is the only one I own physically. I bought all the rest digitally, but in this one, this is William of the Dark's story. So essentially, he's the son of Hades, and this is about his romance. I can't say too much because it would give off major spoilers for the series on this one if I said too much, but I honestly and thoroughly enjoy the series as a whole. This installment was fantastic. I really loved it. If there's any more in the series, I definitely look forward to them. Anything after this would probably be a good entry point because I feel like we've wrapped up all the characters we've been getting to know for a long time. So if there are any further books, you could probably enter after this book. But I do recommend checking out the whole series, though not every book is comfy. I do plan on doing reviews for the entire series over the next year as I do my rereads. So you'll be seeing a lot more Lords of the Underworld on this channel. Up next is one that I was completely surprised by, and that is The Undying King by Grace Draven. In this one, we're following the Undying King and a young woman named Imogen. I keep thinking Imogen Heap when I see this book because her name's Imogen, and so the songs start to play in my head. If you know Imogen Heap, then you know. But anyways, so in this one, Imogen's mother passes away, and she says the only person who can help you with your affliction is the Undying King. So basically, she kills anything she touches, but because he is undying, she can touch him, and it gives him a sense of mortality. It gives her a sense of connection, and it's their story. It definitely has notes of Beauty and the Beast. As you can tell, that's a thing I love, and this is beautifully done. I cannot believe how much ground was covered in such a short space of time, but I felt like the pacing was fantastic of this one. I didn't feel like it was too rushed. I didn't feel like it was too slow. I felt like each page made it count. And this is my favorite Grace Draven ever, and I highly recommend reading this. If you haven't, I think it's available really cheap on Kindle, if not for free. Again, I'll try to have everything linked down below, but I highly recommend checking this one out. I need to stop saying that. All right, up next on this list is another historical, and that is When a Rogue Meets His Match by Elizabeth Hoyt. Now, I absolutely fell in love with this one. And again, it's another Beauty and the Beast inspired story. It was a thing this year, guys. I'm sorry, not sorry. So in this one, we have Messalina. Messalina is a woman who has a very controlling uncle. And the uncle wants to keep Gideon on his payroll. And the only way Gideon will agree is if Messalina marries him, because Messalina is the only thing he wants in life. He wants to be good enough for her. He wants to have her love. It is so beautiful. And all the notes of Beauty and the Beast were fantastic. He tries to hide out. He has had a very nefarious past. He's basically the henchman of her uncle and does all his dirty work. But it is so well done. The way their love comes together is really sweet, and I really love it. It's so beautiful, and I just can't with this book. I will also be exploring a lot more Elizabeth Hoyt in 2021 because her writing is just fantastic. Up next on this list, let's talk about one of the series that it's a standalone. It's a book that I was severely surprised by this year, and that is From the Cloth with Love by Mariana Zapata. Now, everything I'd heard about Mariana Zapata is that it's slow burn, and this one involves ice skating. So in this one, we are following Jasmine. Jasmine Santos is someone who has been doing skating since she was a young teen, and she's not built like most people who figure skate. She's got a little more curve to her than most, and she had her partner drop her a couple years back. And Ivan Lukov has been kind of a family friend for a really long time, and he pitches to Jasmine that they be partners for a year. If it doesn't work out after that, he can go back to his old partner and things like that. So this is them taking a year to be pairs partners together. And it's about them going from enemies to friends to lovers. It's beautiful. I love it so much. The steam level's low, but the chemistry and angst is high. I just love everything about this. It was so good. Oh my goodness. And I can say that about pretty much everything on this list, especially from here on out. But this one, like I said, it was really surprising. I wasn't sure how I was going to feel about this one. Everything I'd heard, I was pretty sure I was going to love it, especially since I love figure skating. Though I've been bad about watching it in recent years, I still really enjoy it. So anyways, definitely check out From Luke Love with Love. It's so, so good. All right, up next on this list is Crazy Stupid Bromance by Lyssa Kay Adams. This was definitely one of my favorite reads of the year. This is a Friends to Lovers featuring Noah, who is a reformed hacker that we met in the previous book, Undercover Bromance, which came out earlier in 2020 as well. And in the previous book, they end up rescuing Alexis from a Me Too style situation, I think is the easiest way to describe that. So about 1.5 years has passed since then, and they have grown to be amazing friends, best friends, in fact. They both want to take it to the next level, but they don't know how to do that without potentially losing their beautiful friendship that they have together, because it means so much to them. They don't want to lose their friendship. And so this is a beautiful journey for them. And this is about him being recruited by the Bromance Book Club to figure out how to finally take the next step with Alexis. And it's adorable. I love it so much. This definitely gives a lot of hints to book 4, which is about the Russian. You'll probably see that on my 2021 list because, man, we do a lot of setup for the Russian in here, but it doesn't overshadow the other story, and I love it, and it centers around a cat cafe. What's not to love? Next up is, I think, one of 2 non-romances on this list, and that is Heir of Navron by Michael J. Sullivan. This is here mostly to represent my journey of reading the Heir of Revelation series. I read the last 4 books, or the last 2 bind-ups, early on in the year before things went crazy, and I absolutely adored this series. I really love Royce and Hadrian and their antics and shenanigans. It's so well done. And this fantasy series is an older one. It's definitely a backlist title, but it took me forever to get to Theft of Swords, and I hate that it took me so long, but I absolutely loved and adored this. I cannot wait to explore more fantasy in this upcoming year. I'm ready to kind of dive back into it. So yes, I am really excited, and this was a really good representation for me in 2020 of good fantasy. And I do want to explore more Michael J. Sullivan. We definitely have more in our audiobook library, so I do plan on exploring more. Up next is the only book I don't physically own yet, and that is Silver Silence by Neelani Singh. This is also here to represent my journey with the Side Changeling series. I am current all but 1 book in this series, and this is the first book of the spin-off of the Side Changeling series, actually. In this one, we're following Silver, and Silver is being pursued by a bear shifter. I cannot think of his name right now, but the bear clan is my favorite clan. The baby bear gangsters give me life, and this courting romance is amazing because Silver is a Psy, so Psys they've shut off basically all their emotions. The easiest way to compare them is kind of like Vulcans in Star Trek, if you're a Star Trek person. I know, that's a really obscure reference if you don't know Star Trek at all, but it's kind of the same. They've shut off their emotions, but they also have telepathic powers. So in a lot of ways, they are kind of Vulcan. I just really put that all together in my head now. But anyways, she is the assistant to Caleb Krychek, who's a big player in the original Side Changeling series. And this is about her and her own pursuits, and about the Bear Clan leader, the alpha of the Bear Clan, wanting her for his own and willing to do anything to get her. It's so cute. I love this so much. And this was definitely my favorite in all the Side Changeling books I read, but there are many really, really good ones. Crust and Ice was really good. Kiss of Snow was really good. Basically, explore the Side Changeling series. I have some friends doing a read-along this year. I'll link an announcement video down below for that. So if you want more info on the series as a whole, you can check that out. We're getting towards the top. I'm really excited to share all these with you. So up next is A Heart of Blood and Ashes by Milavaine. This is the first book in the Gathering of Dragons series. Now, I know I'm not the only person who loved this book this year, but this is immaculate fantasy romance. It is a great fantasy. It is a great romance. It has equal parts and enough of each to truly blend together in a way that is absolutely stunning. This is a barbarian style period, I guess you could say. So basically, Maddox finds out his parents have been murdered in a neighboring kingdom. He goes to exact revenge, and along the way, he comes across the daughter of the king who murdered his parents. And she says, I hate my father too. Let's work together. Let's take him down. Because it is a matriarchal society, so the women hold the throne, not the men. So in her kingdom, in his, it's the men. But anyways, so they form a political alliance, and this is also kind of like a journey across the plains. So they're journeying across the country to his homeland. It's amazing. I love this so much. There are some things that have made some people squeamish, but honestly, it didn't bother me. I love this so much. I love it so much. I love it so much. This is a book that I think about way more often than I should. The way everything plays out, there's a lot more at stake here. It is very political. It's very much like a political fantasy and a romance put together. It warms my heart. It's everything I love in a book. Like, this is like Shayla happiness in this book, even though it is a dark and gritty book. It is so good. It's just so good. I love it so much. So up next, we have Through the Storm by Beverly Jenkins. I finally read a Queen Bev book this year, and I have no regrets about doing it. This book was beautiful. It was humbling. It was a masterpiece. This is definitely telling a side of history that a lot of people, at least in my sphere of influence, don't know and don't care to know in a lot of ways. And that breaks my heart so much. This is the first book in the Levesque family series. I'm definitely going to be exploring a lot more Queen Bev in the upcoming year. But in this one, we have Raymond, who was a soldier, and Sable, who was betrayed by her family. She runs away, kind of Underground Railroad style. They end up meeting and kind of having a quick, fierce love, and then they separate. I forget the reason why at the moment. But anyways, they're reacquainted later, and do they get a second chance at their romance? It's beautiful. I love it so much. And it is just stunning. I really love Beverly Jenkins' writings, and I highly recommend. All right, we are officially to the top 5. This is exciting, guys. All right, so the number 5 book for 2020 was, spoiler alert, by Olivia Dade. I loved this book so much. So in this book, we're following Marcus. Marcus is an actor in a kind of very popular Game of Thrones style TV show, but this definitely is reminiscent of all the controversy with how Game of Thrones ended and people didn't like it. Anyways, people aren't liking how they're choosing to end it, including the actors, so he's been ghostwriting fanfic for 2 years. In those 2 years, he made friends with April. April is a very talented writer, and she's a curvy girl. So she finally gets up her courage and she cosplays her favorite character from the show, which happens to be Marcus's love interest on the show. And so she starts getting harassed online, and the actor Marcus gets tagged, and they're like, okay, dude, like, what do you really think? You can be honest with us. And he's like, y'all are crazy. She's beautiful. And they're like, no, you don't have to be nice. Be honest with us. He's like, no, I'm not kidding. And then he tags her and says, will you go on a date with me? It goes viral. They go on a date, and he discovers on this date that April is the fanfic writer he's been best friends with online for 2 years. But he can't tell her because his career is at stake. So it's kind of an accidental catfish. He does try to cut off his like fanfic persona and just be with her present in real life. But obviously it doesn't always work. And I actually really loved how this turned out. The sex scenes were beautiful, body positive, and I just loved so much about this. This is the kind of plus size representation we love to see. Definitely go support this publish, and I will be reading a lot more Olivia Dade as well in 2021 because I really loved the writing and want to explore more. All right, up next is probably the most unique book on this list because technically it's a light novel, but I really want my bookish people to read this. It is called At Night I Become a Monster. This is by Yoru Sumino. This is a story about 2 teens in a class. One is a girl who, Yano, she is constantly teased and attacked by her classmates. And Adachi kind of participates in all of this. But at night, he transforms into this kind of bug carapace monster you see on the cover here. One night, he forgets something at school. He goes to fetch it, and he finds Yano at school. And so they start to spend an hour together every night for a week. And they explore having a friendship. And he learns a lot about Yano, a lot about how their class dynamics work. And his eyes are kind of open to the whole situation. It is beautiful. It's stunning. I cried. I love this so much. It is a masterpiece in writing, and I just really thoroughly enjoy this. This is a translated work. It was originally written in Japanese. So if you're looking for translated works for 2021, I highly recommend checking out this light novel. It's glorious. I loved it. Next up, I believe, is the only YA novel outside of the light novel on this list. And that is I'll Be the One by Lila Lee. This cover embodies everything I love about this. So we are dealing with a plus-size heroine who is a Korean teenager who is bisexual. And this is about her going on an idol-centered TV show in the US and about the competition that's there. And Sky meets the amazing Henry Cho, and her and Henry end up pairing up a lot, and there ends up being feelings between Sky and Henry. They are adorable. They are both on page bi, so if you're looking for some bisexual representation in your novels, this is one to definitely check out. But this is body positive, it's beautiful, it's empowering. I loved everything about this. I think about this book, again, very often, so that's why it's on this list. And why it's so high on this list, and I highly recommend. Oh, there I am saying it again. I really want you guys to try this one if you haven't, because it is beautiful. All right, the penultimate book on this list is Dark Song by Christine Feehan. Yes, Christine Feehan is the only exception to this list. She's the only one who is on here twice. But that is because I could not choose between those two books. This one I think about at least once a week, if not more, since I read it. This book is a beautiful look at PTSD. This is a beautiful look at how relationships can look different to everybody and how relationship needs are different for everybody, and there's a good fit for everyone. So in this one, we're following Elizabetta. Elizabetta, this is part of the Carpathian series, so they're kind of like vampires that hunt vampires. It's interesting. But anyways, Elizabetta has been kidnapped by a bad vampire for hundreds of years, been held in captivity, and doesn't even know who she is anymore. She was kidnapped so young, and she was so groomed by this vampire that she's not sure who she is anymore. And from there, in this series, they have life mates, which are kind of like a fated mate situation. So Pharaoh, an ancient, as they're called, ends up finding out that Elizabetta is his mate. He waits for her to wake up, and so the way he wakes her every morning is he sings to her. He sings her this beautiful song every morning to wake her up and to help her conquer the day, to empower her. It's beautiful, and he is her shield, is the easiest way to kind of describe it. So whenever she's nervous, she hides behind him, and he lets her because he wants to protect her. And he's not manipulating the situation at all. She is completely in control, and she chooses how much he's taking over. And so from the outside, it looks like he's just trying to lord over her. But she is making all of the choices, and it's very clear in the novel. He is an alpha mellow to the nth degree, and I love him. Pharaoh is amazing. Pharaoh is ruthless and has killed for years. But he has such a marshmallow for Elizabetta, and will do anything to help her hone her powers, to empower her, to make her feel safe, and to make her feel free. I mean, there's parts where they transform into birds so that she can experience that freedom. I'm gonna tear up talking about this book. I need to put it down soon. But it is seriously so lovely, and it's steamy. She is in control of everything. He is so good to her, and I love everything about this. I plan on rereading it very soon because I just want to revisit it. And then last but definitely not least for this list is The Madness of Lord Ian McKenzie. This book did things to me. This book stole a piece of my heart I didn't even know I had to give. In this book, we're following Ian. Ian is a man who, as we would say in modern terms, is on the autism spectrum. But obviously back then they didn't know how to diagnose any of that. And So he has this fondness for Ming bowls, which are like the Japanese bowls that are filled in when they crack with gold. Those are Ming bowls. And he has a fellow collector that he occasionally talks to who's kind of a rake, talking about how he's going to get engaged to this woman who recently inherited a fortune. And Ian's like, I need to meet this woman to see if she's worth warning. And as soon as he meets Beth, he is smitten. He is gone for her. And he's like, I cannot let this man have her. She has to be mine, because she calms him. He feels peace with her. He can touch her, and he doesn't get upset like he does with other people. He makes eye contact with her in beautiful ways that are rare and cherished by Beth, and they have such a beautiful relationship. There's a lot of other things going on in this novel that I won't spoil for you, but you have to know that Ian and Beth, they are couple goals. They are so beautiful together. Ian doesn't understand emotions, obviously, because of the way he was raised. He was kept in an asylum for years and tortured, essentially. His brother freed him, and he and his brother have both been protecting each other for years because they both think the other did something that they didn't. And it's beautiful. It's stunning. I love everything about this. I'm definitely going to be exploring more of this series in the upcoming year, because I read this only in December, but it is still the cut above the rest of what I read this year, and I love it so very much. I can't tell you enough to read it. So friends, those are 20 of the amazing 5-star reads I read this year. I adore them all. I hope you will try them if you haven't yet, and everything should be linked in the description if you want to find links for more clear and more concise information on them. I should have reviews on all of these as well, but they might not be as detailed as some others. I'm working on my review style, as you guys know. So thank you again for watching this video. If you are new here, I would love it if you would subscribe and click the little bell so you know when I post new videos. And I will see you guys in the next one. Bye.